Hey everyone, tonight we embark on a journey not through vibrant landscapes or bustling marketplaces, but into the quiet, sacred chambers where the veil between worlds thinned. You find yourself drifting, a silent observer in ancient Kemet, the air thick with the scent of myrrh and a strange, sweet anticipation. Soft lamplight flickers, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls adorned with hieroglyphs that whisper tales of gods and rebirth. You can almost feel the cool stone beneath your bare feet as you approach a scene both solemn and intensely purposeful. Imagine the hush, the respectful reverence as priests move with practiced grace, their chants a low, rhythmic hum that seems to vibrate through the very fabric of time. This isn't just about preserving a body, it's about safeguarding a soul's passage, ensuring its eternal journey. You're not just watching, you're almost a part of it. A crucial, ethereal presence in this ancient ritual. You probably wouldn't survive this process yourself, but hey, at least you'd look fabulous for a few millennia, right? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and what local time it is for you in the comments below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You feel a subtle shift in the air, a drop in temperature that's more psychological than real as you step back in time all the way to ancient Egypt. You're not just a passive observer here, you are the focus. Imagine, if you will, that you are a person of importance, perhaps a noble or even royalty, having recently passed on. Your journey to the afterlife, or do it as the Egyptians called it, is about to begin, and it's a journey that requires careful preparation, a kind of extreme spiritual packing. The first artisans to approach you aren't sculptors or jewelers, but a very specialized group, the embalmers. They are, in essence, the ultimate funeral directors, but with a toolkit that looks less like a modern morticianess and more like a high-end ancient craftspersoness. You lie there, peaceful and still, as the first assessment is made. This isn't a hasty process, mind you. Oh no, this is a ritual steeped in millennia of tradition, a sacred science. Your body, once vibrant and animated, is now a vessel awaiting transformation. The earliest forms of mummification were surprisingly simple, often just relying on the dry desert sands to naturally desiccate the body. But the Egyptians, being the meticulous folks they were, quickly realized they could do better. Much, much better. They wanted to control the process, to ensure a perfect, custom-made eternity. Historians still argue whether the initial discovery of mummification was accidental, perhaps a body buried in salty sand, or a deliberate, scientific pursuit from the get-go. Either way, they perfected it. As you rest, you sense the gentle touch of hands, not cold or clinical, but reverent. These aren't just workers. They are priests, or at least individuals who understood the profound spiritual significance of their task. They believe they are aiding your Ka and Ba, your life force and your soul, in their reunion with your body in the afterlife. No pressure, but their entire religious framework hinges on getting this right. You might wonder, why all this effort? Well, for the ancient Egyptians, death wasn't an end, it was a transition. And to make that transition successfully, your body needed to be recognizable, intact, a familiar anchor for your spiritual components. Think of it as leaving a very specific return address for your soul. Without it, your Ka and Ba might just wander lost in the cosmic ether. And nobody wants that. The initial steps are surprisingly gentle. You are moved to the Wabbit or place of purification. Imagine a cool, shaded pavilion, perhaps near the Nile, where the cleansing rituals begin. You are washed thoroughly, not with harsh soaps, but with sacred Nile water and palm wine. The palm wine, besides its ritualistic significance, also has antiseptic properties, a brilliant practical choice disguised as spiritual observance. It's like an ancient spa treatment, but with slightly more existential stakes. You are being prepared, made ready for the journey. This isn't a quick splash and dash. It's a ceremonial purification, ensuring you are pristine for the gods. You can almost feel the coolness of the water, a refreshing prelude to the much drier processes to come. Then comes the incising. Now, this is where things get a tad less gentle, but still handled with utmost precision. An incision is made, usually on your left side, just above the hip bone. This isn't a random cut. It's a very specific, traditional opening, usually made with a flint knife. Imagine a specialized surgical tool, incredibly sharp, used with an almost artistic delicacy. This incision is the gateway to the internal organs, the first real step in preparing your body for its long sleep. The Egyptians believed that the left side was less clean than the right, making it suitable for this necessary, though perhaps slightly undignified, entry point. It's a pragmatic choice, dressed up in ritual. You might be thinking, ouch, flint knife. But remember, you're past feeling anything, so it's all purely academic from your perspective. The person making the incision, sometimes referred to as the slitter or ripper, was a highly specialized role, sometimes even ritually condemned for violating the body only to be chased away by angry onlookers. Don't worry, it was all part of the show, a symbolic act to acknowledge the necessary transgression. Afterward, the priest would step forward, ready for the next, equally vital, stage. It's a quirky tidbit of history that some scholars suggest this ritualized chasing was less about actual anger and more about a dramatic flourish, adding to the gravitas of the proceedings. Almost like a performance art piece, but with higher stakes than a bad review. As you lie there, you are keenly aware that your body is about to undergo a profound transformation. This isn't just about preservation, it's about making you eternal. The Egyptians, with their deep understanding of anatomy, gained primarily through this very process, knew that the internal organs were the first to decompose. They understood the necessity of removing them to prevent decay from within. It's like clearing out the pantry before a long trip. You don't want anything spoiling while you're gone. The goal is to create a dry, sterile environment, hostile to the bacteria that would otherwise turn you into, well, not a mummy. The care taken even at this early stage is remarkable. The embalmers, often a hereditary profession, would have honed their skills over generations. They understood not just the how but the why, guided by the elaborate funerary texts and their profound religious beliefs. You are not merely a cadaver, you are a future ancestor, a divine being in waiting. Every step, every incision, every cleansing is imbued with purpose and prayer. You are undergoing the ultimate purification ritual, designed to prepare you for an eternal existence amongst the gods themselves. And while the idea of it might sound a bit morbid to modern ears, from their perspective, it was the ultimate act of love and respect. Think of it as sending you off on the most important journey of your life, equipped with everything you need, meticulously prepared for a successful arrival. Subscribe to the channel to get the next part of this journey. You'll get notified as soon as it's uploaded. Thanks for watching. As the initial incision is made, marking the first real breach of your physical form, the embalmers turn their attention to a particularly delicate and, frankly, rather squishy task. You lie there, a silent testament to ancient ingenuity, as the focus shifts to your head. Specifically, what's inside it? Yes, we're talking about your brain. Now, this might sound a bit gruesome, but we're approaching this with a calm, almost meditative curiosity. The ancient Egyptians, despite their incredible advancements in preserving the body, had a rather curious, almost dismissive attitude towards the brain. They didn't consider it the seat of intelligence or emotion, unlike the heart, which they revered. For them, the brain was mostly gunk, something to be removed. You can almost imagine a long, slender bronze hook being carefully inserted into your left nostril. This isn't a hasty shove, it's a slow, deliberate movement designed to reach deep into the cranial cavity. The purpose? To thoroughly churn and liquefy the brain tissue. Picture a gentle but persistent stirring, transforming the delicate organ into something more akin to a thick broth. This process would have taken considerable time and a very steady hand. It is a testament to the embalmer's skill that they could perform such an intrusive procedure without visibly disfiguring the face. You might be thinking, through the nose, really? Yes, really? It was considered the most efficient way to access the brain without making a major, visible incision on the skull. Once sufficiently agitated, the liquefied brain is then drained. Sometimes the head would be gently tilted, allowing gravity to do its work, the gray matter slowly trickling out. Other times, the embalmers might have used the same hook, or perhaps specialized spatulas, to scoop out the remaining fragments. It wasn't always a perfect, clean sweep, and sometimes small remnants were left behind. But the goal was clear: remove as much of it as possible. This seems a bit crude by modern medical standards, but for the Egyptians, it was effective. They were preventing one of the fastest decomposing organs from causing internal decay in a very public place: your head. You wouldn't want a brain-induced cave-in after a few centuries, would you? That's just bad planning? Now, here's a curious little fringe tidbit for you. While the standard procedure involved the nostril, some evidence suggests that in very early or less prestigious mummifications, a different, less elegant method might have been employed. This involved crushing the brain directly within the skull without removal. The idea was simply to stop its decomposition, even if it meant a rather undignified internal mash. Historians still argue whether this was a common alternative or a rare, less than ideal solution for budget mummies. Either way, the brain was definitely on the out list. After the draining, the cranial cavity itself would often be rinsed. Imagine sacred palm wine, or even a strong herbal infusion, being poured in and out, swishing around to cleanse any remaining fragments. This wasn't just for hygiene, it was part of the ritual purification. You wouldn't want any stray thoughts clinging to the inside of your skull for eternity. Would you think of it as a spiritual defrag? The meticulousness, even for an organ they didn't value, speaks volumes about their holistic approach to mummification. Every part of you, from your toes to the inside of your skull, had to be prepared for the afterlife. The empty skull cavity would then sometimes be packed. What with, you ask? Well, it varied. Often, linen strips, sometimes soaked in resin, would be carefully pushed into the cavity. This served several purposes. It helped to maintain the shape of the skull and facial features, preventing them from collapsing during the long desiccation process, and it provided an aromatic barrier. Imagine a kind of sacred ancient cotton wool, keeping everything neat and tidy. In some cases, bits of spices or even small resin balls have been found, further contributing to the preservation and the pleasant scent. It's like they were stuffing a very special, eternal teddy bear, ensuring it kept its plump, beloved form. You might be thinking, but if they didn't value the brain, why bother removing it so carefully? Good question. The mainstream historical fact here is that the Egyptians believed the heart was the center of intellect, emotion, and personality. It was the only organ they never removed during mummification, as it was considered essential for the judgment in the afterlife, weighed against the feather of Mat. The brain, by contrast, was perishable and prone to decay, which could ruin the entire mummification project. So, while it lacked spiritual significance, its physical presence was a liability. It was a practical decision driven by a spiritual imperative. They were essentially preventing a biological time bomb from going off inside your eternal resting place. The entire brain removal process, though perhaps startling to our modern sensibilities, was executed with a quiet, almost detached professionalism. There was no fanfare, no elaborate ceremony specifically for the brain's departure. It was a necessary, though secondary, step to the far more significant organ removal to come. The priests understood the interconnectedness of the body and the destructive power of decay. By taking out the brain, they were taking one more step towards safeguarding your path to eternity. It's a fascinating paradox, the dismissal of an organ we now consider so vital, yet its meticulous removal for the sake of the greater spiritual journey. As you lie there, the faint sensation of the internal cleansing gives way to a stillness. Your cranial cavity, once a bustling hub of thoughts and dreams, is now empty, purified, and ready. This prepares you not just physically, but symbolically. It's a shedding of the earthly, the ephemeral, making space for the eternal. The embalmers move with a serene purpose, their faces unreadable, their focus absolute. They are not merely performing a task, they are enacting a cosmic drama, and you are the star of the show. Your brain, once a tangible part of you, has now joined the elements, leaving behind a pristine vessel. The air is still fragrant with the palm wine, perhaps now tinged with the scent of linen and resin. You are one step closer to your eternal form, lightened, purified, and ready for the next phase of this ancient, soothing ritual. Thanks for joining us on this strange and wonderful journey. If you found this fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the past. See you next time. With your brain gone and your head all sorted, the embalmers now turn their attention to your core. You're lying peacefully as their hands, guided by ancient traditions and a deep knowledge of anatomy, begin the delicate process of removing your organs. This isn't some gruesome dismemberment. It's a precise, almost surgical extraction, done with a deep sense of reverence. Remember that little incision they made on your left side? Well, that's the doorway. Through this opening, the embalmers will carefully take out your internal organs. Just think about it. All those vital parts that kept you alive and kicking, your liver, lungs, stomach, and intestines, they're all next in line for preservation. Each organ is treated individually. It's not a hasty grab and go. It's a systematic, almost meditative process. The ancient Egyptians believed you'd need these organs in the afterlife. I mean, you wouldn't want to wander through eternity feeling hungry, right? As each organ is gently removed, it gets its own special mummification. This is where those famous canopic jars come in. You've probably seen them in museums, beautiful jars with lids shaped like the heads of gods. Each jar was dedicated to a specific protective deity, one of the four sons of Horus, and held a particular organ. Your liver would go into a jar topped with Imsidi, who had a human head. Your lungs were looked after by Hapi, the baboon-headed god. Duamutef, the jackal-headed god, guarded your stomach. And your intestines were entrusted to the falcon-headed god, Quebec-Senuf. It's like having a divine, custom-designed storage unit for your insides. These canopic jars weren't just pretty containers. They were meticulously crafted from materials like alabaster or limestone and often had spells and prayers inscribed on them for extra protection. Imagine the artistry, the cool, smooth surfaces, the vibrant painted details. Holding your very essence, these jars were then placed in a canopic chest, usually kept in your tomb, close to your sarcophagus. This was to make sure that when your soul, your Ka and Ba, eventually returned, all the necessary pieces would be right there, ready to reanimate you for your eternal life. Now, a little bit of history here. The use of canopic jars actually changed over time. In the very early days of mummification, the organs were just wrapped in linen and placed in a box near the body. Later on, those for distinct jars with their divine protectors became the standard. But then, during some periods, like the 21st dynasty, the embalmers started treating the organs and then putting them back inside the body cavity. The canopic jars might still have been included in the tomb, but they were empty, purely for symbolic reasons. Historians still debate why this changed. Was it new religious beliefs? Practicality? Maybe they just realized it was easier to keep everything in one place. We'll probably never know for sure. Once your organs are removed and safely stored, the large body cavity is thoroughly cleansed. This is a critical step to prevent any remaining tissue from decaying. You're rinsed out multiple times with palm wine and fragrant spices, kind of like a chef carefully preparing a special dish, making sure every surface is perfectly clean. Imagine the sharp, clean scent of the wine and the warm, earthy aroma of resins filling the air. It's not just about cleanliness, it's about infusing you with protective, sweet-smelling substances to help with your eternal preservation. Here's a quirky little fact for you. Sometimes, the embalmers would hide specific amulets or protective charms inside the body cavity before packing it. These weren't just for decoration on the outside. They were believed to offer internal protection against evil spirits. Imagine a tiny scarab beetle, a symbol of rebirth, nestled deep inside where your stomach used to be, offering silent guardianship. Or a small figure of a god, maybe Anubis himself, tucked away to guide your soul. It's like hiding a good luck charm in your lunchbox, but for the afterlife. These internal amulets were a secret layer of protection, known only to the embalmers and the gods. After the deep clean, the body cavity is ready for packing. This is a crucial step to make sure you keep your shape during the drying out process. The cavity is stuffed with temporary packing materials, often linen bags filled with natron salt, sawdust, or even aromatic substances like myrrh. This isn't just to fill the empty space, it has to absorb any remaining moisture and to keep your body from collapsing in on itself as it dries. Think of it like soft, scented cushions being placed carefully inside you, propping you up and maintaining your dignified shape for eternity. This temporary packing would be removed later on, much like taking the stuffing out of a new pillow. The whole process of evisceration, while it sounds pretty intense, was carried out with an almost serene focus. The embalmers saw themselves as facilitators of a divine transition. They weren't performing surgery in our modern sense, they were enacting a sacred ritual. Every movement was precise, every placement purposeful. In their eyes, you, the deceased, are not just a body. You are a sacred object entrusted to them for the ultimate transformation. The removal of the internal organs and their individual mummification really highlights the Egyptians' belief in the holistic nature of a person, even in death. Every part of you was important, and each part needed its own specific care and protection. It's a profound display of their spiritual understanding and their meticulous approach to ensuring a successful afterlife. So, as you lie there, emptied but not diminished, you are being prepared for the next, most transformative stage, the Great Drying. The air around you shifts once again, now filled with the dry, slightly salty scent of preparation, a whisper of the preservation that's about to begin. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Alright, welcome back to your very own mummification. We've already been through the meticulous cleansing and, let's say, the internal reorganization. Now, you're ready for the most crucial phase, the Great Drying. This is where the real magic, or rather, the ancient chemistry, truly happens. You're gently moved to a prepared slab, often slanted to help with drainage. The air around you feels different, it's dry, almost buzzing with anticipation. This entire stage hinges on one extraordinary substance, natron. Now, natron isn't just your average table salt. It has a naturally occurring mineral salt found in abundance in places like Egypt's Wadi el Natron. Think of it as a potent cocktail of sodium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate, and a few other salts. Basically, it's nature's ultimate dehydrator and germ killer, all rolled into one powerful package. And now, you're about to get very, very familiar with it. The embalmers begin to pack and cover you with heaps of natron. You are literally buried in it. Imagine being tucked into a giant, comforting, but incredibly dry bed of salt. Every single inch of your skin is covered. They might even place bags of natron inside your body cavity to draw out moisture from within. The goal here is total desiccation to remove every last drop of water from your tissues. This stops bacterial decay and decomposition right in its tracks. It's like hitting the ultimate pause button on biology. This part of the process takes a while, typically around 35 to 40 days. So, for over a month, you just lie there, slowly but surely transforming. Your skin begins to tighten and change texture as the moisture is relentlessly drawn out. You're not shrinking dramatically, but you are becoming incredibly dry and firm. The Egyptians saw this as a deeply spiritual process. They believed this drying was like the primordial mound of creation rising from the waters of chaos, a symbolic rebirth from a moist, perishable state to a dry, eternal one. Now, here is a cool historical fact. The total 70-day period for mummification wasn't just a random number. It actually correlated with the time the star Sirius disappeared from the sky before its heliacal rising, which signaled the start of the annual Nile flood. This celestial event was a huge deal for the Egyptians, symbolizing rebirth and renewal. So, your 70-day embalming wasn't just a practical timeline. It was a sacred duration, aligning your journey to the afterlife with the cosmic cycles they revered. Historians still debate whether 70 days was the absolute minimum for effective drying or a religiously required length of time that just happened to work out perfectly. Either way, it was a long wait for your eternal sleepover. As the weeks pass, the natron works its silent magic. Your once supple tissues become firm, almost leathery. The distinct aroma of spices from the earlier steps might still linger, now mixed with the sharp, clean scent of the salt. After about 40 days in your salt bed, the time has come. The natron is carefully removed. Imagine the gentle brushing away of countless grains of salt, revealing your transformed body underneath. You are now truly desiccated, a shadow of your former self, but ready for the next phase. Here's a quirky little thought. What happened to all that used natron? In some fringe theories, for particularly important people, the natron now imbued with the essence of the deceased might have been used in ritual offerings. Imagine a pinch of mummy salt seasoning your afterlife banquet. Probably not, but it's a fun idea. More likely, it was ritually buried, so as not to defile the sanctity of your transformed body. After the salt is gone, your body undergoes another cleansing. Any remaining salt residue is meticulously brushed off. Then, you're gently wiped down with oils and resins. This isn't to re-moisten you, but to soften your now dry skin and prepare it for the final stages. We're talking fragrant cedar oil, myrrh, frankincense, and other botanical extracts. These aren't just ancient perfumes. They are powerful antimicrobials and sealants, adding layers of protection to your preserved form. The air would be filled with these rich, exotic scents, a sensory embrace marking your transition from the perishable to the eternal. This is also the stage where your internal cavity gets its permanent filling. Remember those canopic jars holding your organs? Well, if you were a pharaoh in the New Kingdom, your organs might be wrapped in linen and placed back inside you. If not, the cavity would be stuffed with fresh linen, sawdust, or even aromatic goodies like myrrh to restore your natural shape. After all, you wouldn't want to arrive in the afterlife looking all deflated. Appearance matters, even when you're dead. The application of these sacred scents is deeply symbolic. Myrrh was associated with grief, but also had purify properties. Frankincense, used in temples, symbolized divinity and ascension. By anointing you with these precious substances, the embalmers aren't just making you smell nice. They are sanctifying you, preparing you for your audience with the gods. It's an immersive experience, even in your stillness. You are now a truly preserved vessel, resilient against time and decay. The transformation is complete. Your physical form is stabilized, awaiting the final, intricate stage of wrapping. The gentle touch of the embalmers as they work with the fragrant resins and oils is one of profound respect, a final grooming for your eternal debut. You are not just a dried body. You are a carefully crafted masterpiece, ready for your spiritual journey, fragrant and eternally poised. Thanks so much for joining me on this step of the journey. We're getting close to the end, so make sure you're subscribed to see how it all wraps up literally. See you next time. With your body thoroughly dried and infused with fragrant resins, you are now a perfectly preserved vessel, poised for the final, most iconic stage of mummification, the wrapping. This isn't just about covering you up, it's an intricate, ceremonial art form, a painstaking process of layering linen bandages, each strip imbued with protective power and spiritual significance. You lie there, a still, dignified form, as the embalmers, now more like master weavers, begin their work. They bring forth the finest linen, often specially woven for this purpose. Imagine strips of pure white fabric, crisp and clean. The wrapping begins, typically starting with your head and neck, then progressing to your fingers and toes, each digit individually wrapped. This meticulous attention to detail ensures that every part of you is protected, every joint articulated, even in eternal stillness. It's like swaddling a precious, sacred infant, ensuring its comfort and security for the longest journey imaginable. As each layer is applied, protective amulets and charms are carefully placed between the bandages. These aren't just decorative, they are potent magical objects designed to guard you from harm, guide you through the dangers of the underworld, and ensure your successful rebirth. You might find a scarab beetle symbolizing rebirth and the rising sun placed over your heart. A wedged eye or eye of Horus offering protection and healing could be nestled somewhere around your chest. An ankh, the symbol of life, might be tucked near your vital organs. Imagine a veritable treasure trove of ancient blessings woven into your very being. A mainstream historical fact is the sheer volume of linen used. A single mummy could require hundreds of square meters of fabric, often recycled household textiles, torn into strips. The process was so extensive that ancient Egypt had a thriving linen industry, fueled in part by the demand for mummification. Historians still argue whether the complexity of the wrapping patterns was purely ritualistic or also served a practical purpose, like holding the fragile, desiccated body together. Perhaps it was a bit of both, a fashionable and functional embrace for eternity. The wrapping itself is a specific, ritualized sequence. Your limbs are secured to your body, often with layers of padding to maintain a natural, lifelike form. Each bandage is carefully smoothed, and each knot is deliberately tied. The embalmers would chant prayers and incantations as they worked, invoking the gods to protect you. You are being transformed not just physically, but spiritually into an Ankh, a transfigured spirit. The bandages are more than cloth. They are a magical cocoon shielding you from negative forces and aiding your journey to the afterlife. It's like getting ready for the most important costume party of your existence, but with divine implications. Now for a quirky tidbit. Sometimes, painted portraits, known as Fay-Yum mummy portraits, were placed over the face of the mummy, particularly during the Roman period in Egypt. These incredibly lifelike paintings, often done on wood panels, provided a vivid, personalized representation of you. This ensured your identity was preserved, even under all those layers of linen. Imagine seeing your own serene face staring out from the bandages, a silent promise of recognition in the afterlife. It's a fascinating blend of Egyptian funerary tradition and Greco-Roman artistic styles. As the final layers of linen are applied, often crisscrossing your chest and body to secure everything tightly, you are then painted with liquid resin. This resin acts as a sealant, gluing the layers of bandages together and creating a hard, protective shell. It also gives the mummy a distinctive dark, shiny appearance. This isn't just for looks. It's an extra layer of waterproofing and protection, ensuring your form remains intact for millennia. Imagine being coated in a sacred, aromatic lacquer, making you even more impervious to the ravages of time. Finally, a shroud or large piece of linen is draped over your entire body. This is sometimes secured with more resin and often adorned with painted religious scenes, protective symbols, or even a gilded mask placed over your face. This mask, often made of parsonage layers of linen and plaster, was crafted to resemble your features, providing a personalized, idealized visage for eternity. It's your ultimate forever selfie, a perfect representation for your reunion with your soul. The gentle pressure of the bandages, the subtle scent of resin, and the quiet reverence of the embalmers create a truly immersive experience. You are no longer just a body, you are a mummy, a sacred vessel prepared for immortality. The meticulous craftsmanship, the spiritual depth, and the sheer dedication involved in this final stage are profound. You are ready. Ready for your journey through the Duat, ready for the judgment before Osiris, ready for your eternal life in the field of reeds. Every strip of linen, every amulet, every drop of resin has worked in concert to bring you to this moment. You are carefully lifted, now a complete and protected entity, ready to be placed in your coffin and sarcophagus. The long, painstaking process is complete. You have been transformed, not just preserved, but transfigured. The gentle art of mummification has seen you through from earthly demise to eternal readiness. You are now a bridge between worlds, a testament to ancient beliefs, and a silent marvel of enduring preservation. Subscribe to the channel to get the next part of your journey. You won't want to miss what happens next.